Good. Let's learn the Holy Torah. Here we're learning the story of the scouts that Moses sent in to scout out the land of Israel and the tragic and weird outcome of what they did. So surprisingly enough, so the Moses sent in the best people, the choice ones of the whole Jewish people. Can't get any better than this. All these people, they saw God. They saw how God took them out of Egypt and gave them bread in the desert and etc. and protected them, gave them the Torah. They all saw it. They saw it with their own eyes. And these were the highest of the Jewish people. And nevertheless, God sent them into the land of Israel to spy it out. And they came back. And they came back with a report. Here we go. Ready? Yes. Vayeshuvu. And they came back. Mitura Oretz, from scouting out the land, Miketz Arboim, at the end of 40 days. We did this yesterday. And Rashi points out that really God shortened the journey for them. They went on a journey that should have taken them 160 days. And God shortened it down. They went 4 times as fast. Although they went 400 parsas on 400 parsas. Usually a person goes 10 parsas every day. So if so, they went 400, that should have taken them 40 days just to go from the east to the west. And they went the Arko the Rachba. They went not only from the east to the west, they also went from the south to the north, and then they came back. Now, they started off on the bottom left corner. If you're looking at a map of Israel, they started off on the bottom left corner. They went all the way to the right. Then they went from the bottom to the top. Right? So they're on the bottom right corner. They went all the way up to the top, and then they came back again. So in other words, they made a journey that should have taken them 40 plus 40, and then coming back another 40 plus 40. So it should have taken 160. But God understood that they were going to sin and that they were going to get punished 1 year for every day that they spent in the land of Israel. Because every day they spent in the land of Israel, that only gave weight to their claims. Right? We were there. We saw it. You know, you can talk as much as you want, but we experienced it. We went through the whole land, back and forth, up and down, and we were traveling there 160 days, and we saw the whole thing. So, and you can't go in. So God said, you're going to see. Okay, they're going to get 1 year punishment for every day they were there. But I made them I gave them a big discount. They got 120 days off for bad behavior. 120 days off. It should have taken them 160 days. Instead, it took them 40 days. So there he made it shorter. God he knew that they were going to sin. They went and they came to Moshe. What does it mean they went and they came? They came to Moshe. What is it if they went and they came? So Rashi says they went and they came to Moshe and to Aaron and to all the Jewish people, to the place where they were, Midbar Paran. They were all waiting for them. That was in the bottom left-hand corner right outside of the boundary of Israel. And they brought a word back, and all of the congregation, and they showed them the fruits of the land that they brought. They showed them the fruits of the land. What exactly fruits did they show them? We're going to see it in 1 second. They went and they came. What do you mean they went? Of course we know. Of course they went. It says this is to come and tell you that the same way that they went with a bad intention, but we didn't know it. Just as they came back with bad news. Also, when they went, it was also with bad news. They went with the intention already, when they started going, they already had in their mind, we don't like this thing. Something's bad about this. And they brought word to Moshe and to Aaron. So let's see exactly what they brought back. It says that they went back. It says they went to Negev, that they went on the south, and they went to Hebron, which is sort of like in the middle of the south. And there was Achiman, Talmai, we talked about that. And they brought back, they cut off over there Zmura ve'eshkol. They cut off over there a Zmura, a bunch of grapes. And they carried it on a mot b'shtayim. And they carried it on it was so big that they had to carry it on a staff by two people. So really, you're going to see that really there was 4 staffs, and there were 8 people carrying it. Why? Because Yeshua and Kalev, they didn't bring anything back. Right? Yeshua and Kalev, they didn't bring anything back. We'll see. These are the fruits. Yeshua and Kalev didn't. So it was 10 people that brought things back. So altogether, how many were carrying? 10 people. So they brought Rimonim and they brought Te'inim. So it says Rimonim and Te'inim, it says that they brought back each one person brought a big pomegranate, one person brought a big fig, Te'ina, big fig. So that means that there was one there. So, and Yoshua and Kalev, they didn't bring anything. So it means that 2 people didn't bring anything. That leaves only 10. And one person brought a fig and one person bought a pomegranate. That's what, so they got 8 people. So it ended up that 8 people carried this grape cluster. So that's what he says. Let's look at Rashi. It says Zmura, that they brought it on a mot b'shtayim. They brought it on a what is it? A mot is like a staff. So if a staff, you have to have 2 people to carry a staff, right? One person carries it on one end and one person on the other end. So it has to be 2. So it says that they carry it on a mot. What does it mean they 2? What does it mean they carry it on a staff with 2 people? We know that there has to be 2 people. It means 2 staffs. Also, there were 8 people. 8 people took a cluster. One of them took a te'ina, one of them took a fig, and one of them took a pomegranate. Yeshua and Kalev, they didn't take anything. Lefishakal atzmam, because they knew that they were only bringing back these fruits in order to make their claims believable, but also to say bad things about the land of Israel. What's so bad about having huge fruits? To say kashem shaperosh meshuna, just like the fruits are unusual, also the people that live there are unusual. If you want to know how many people carried, you should know that la me avanim. You should know that the stones that they took from Gilgal, when they came over, the Jewish people, when they came over the Jordan River to enter Israel, so it says that they carried big stones. It says one person can carry one stone. They took big stones from the Jordan River. They set up a bunch of stones in the Jordan River, and they took stones from the Jordan River. So it says every person took one stone on his shoulder, and they made a big monument in this place called Gilgal. Gilgal was the place where the first tabernacle was also. The rabbi said like this: each one of them weighed 40 saw. And we learned tuna demitli enish al ketay, the measure, the weight that a person can take on his shoulder, annual shlich, it's only what 1/3 of what 2 people can carry. So here we have, however, if a person can carry like 100 pounds, let's say on his shoulder, so 2 people can carry 300 pounds. And here we have 8 people carrying it. So you can make some sort of a calculation how huge these grapes were. Right? They said he even called this place Nachal Eshkol because of the huge cluster of grapes that they brought the Jewish people. Okay, so now they're coming back and they show everybody the fruits. It's prioritz, and they showed them the fruits of the land. And what happens next? One second. Here we got the Ohr HaChaim. Ohr HaChaim, interesting Ohr HaChaim over here that says like this. He asked the question, the same question. Why does it say that they went and they came back? Obviously, they went. We know that they went to the land of Israel. Just say that they came back. Vayavo, they came back. So the rabbi said the same way that they left with, they came back with a bad news. So they really left also with a bad intention also. But we have to know, how do we know this? How did you get this idea from these words that they went, just because an extra word that they went and they came back? What? So he says like this. I skipped a little bit. Let's see over here. Here. So he gives a lot of different answers. Ohr HaChaim HaKadosh, Reb Chaim ben Atar. And he says like this. If a person does a mitzvah, so a person does a mitzvah, the mitzvah protects him. If a person does a mitzvah, so the mitzvah, when he's doing it, it protects him from his evil impulse. Okay, so when they went to spy out the land of Israel, so they were doing a big mitzvah. Moshe sent them, so that should have protected them from seeing bad things. So according to the Gemara that has a question, exactly what does, when you're doing a commandment, what does it protect you from? But in any case, it says, if you want to say that when they were doing a mitzvah, it protected them, so that's where it comes out and it says like this. Why didn't the mitzvah protect them when they were going? Why did they come with bad news? Why? It says, because the same way that they came back with bad intentions, they went with bad intentions. And this is what they went. They didn't go because of the mitzvah. Just like they came back with a bad news. So also when they went with the intention of just building up the reputation, so that when they came back, they say, listen, we were there and we saw it, don't go in. If so, there is no mitzvah. They didn't do any mitzvah, so it didn't really protect them. And here he says another one, B'derech Remez, we can explain, like the Bale Sod, like it says according to, I want to say, Kabbalah, or the mysteries of the Torah, it says, a person, when if you have, let's say, a great person, and suddenly he's tempted to do some sort of a sin, right? To get angry, to say lashon hora, to take revenge, right? The bigger the person, the bigger his yetzer hora is, right? He's important. You're messing around with me. A little person, a little nobody, comes and spits in the face of a big person. He gets all angry. If he spits on a regular person, so maybe it's not so bad. We can say, drop dead, what do I care? But it's a big person. You know who you're shaming? He says, if a little person, if a big person is tempted to do some sort of a sin, vayigash la'asotz, and he goes to do it, he says, I'm going to do this sin. Parcha mimena neshmatav. His soul leaves him. Nafsho harama v'nichnas l'broshtus. And suddenly at that time, his soul leaves him, and there comes into him a feeling of insanity. Right? Very common. You can see it. A big rabbi just gave a beautiful speech, made the whole crowd cry about how bad it is to lose your temper and how you have to understand that everything there is in the world, it all comes from Hashem, and it's all for your benefit, and nothing happens by accident. It's all the hand of the Lord. And as he's driving home and people are crying and they're thanking him, somebody cuts him off. He's driving and somebody cuts him off and driving. All of a sudden, road rage. What happened? How did he get road rage? It says because all these wonderful ideas that he had, they were ingrained in his soul. But as soon as he makes this decision, what, it gets a little bit angry. Well, now he could have used all these wonderful ideas that he had to say, one second, what am I going to get angry for? I just convinced this whole crowd not to get angry. But he doesn't. Suddenly, all these beautiful ideas and his inspirations, they all go away from him. And there comes into him a spirit of insanity. And then he'll do the sin. Well, it's like it says, it's the same thing. These people were great people. They had big souls. But all of a sudden, they came into the land of Israel and their soul jumped out from them. And that's what it means, vayilchu, that their soul went away from them. It jumped away from them. Because Moshe, when as soon as they came to Moshe, v'yavo, to speak bad, right? Halchu, it went again. That's what it means. Parcha mihem odot hakedusha minishmasam, because their souls were so holy that in order for them to do a sin, their souls had to go away. So that's what it means. When they came to Moshe, they stood in front of the crowd and they said, should we say bad things or should we say good things? All of a sudden, vayilchu, their souls jumped away from them, their good souls, and vayava'u, and they started saying bad things. Ohr HaChaim knew what he was talking about. V'yasapru, and they told the people, lo, to Moses and to everybody, but Yomer, and they said, Banu el eretz asher shalachtanu, we went to the land that we were sent, V'gam zavat chalav v'davash, and it is flowing milk and honey. Flowing milk and honey. V'zeh piryo, and these are the fruits. Let's look at Rashi. Zavat chalav v'davash, kol davar sheker, says the general principle is Rashi is giving us a lesson on how to tell lies. You want to be a liar? Read this first. Very short message. Anytime you want to say a lie and there's not a little bit of truth with it, ein mitkayim b'sofo. No one's going to believe you. Right? Go to everyone and say, right, the moon is made of green cheese. Who's going to listen to you? But if you come and you say, listen, I am a big professor and I just invented this, and he really did, and he has this truth, then people will believe any lies that he says. Corona, etc. Big professor, I'm the professor. Let's look at Sforno. It's a land of milk and honey, flowing milk and honey. Zavat, it's flowing milk and honey. Not only is it good, but also it's flowing milk and honey. What does it mean? You don't have to make any effort. Mikne marba, there's so many sheep and flocks and goats. The milk is just dripping over there. And there's also dvash. Now, there's a lot of different opinions what it means. What exactly is this milk and honey? The simple meaning is that it's a land that, like the Sforno says, there's a lot of plenty and a lot of sweet, good things. Honey is just anything that's good and sweet. But I saw other opinions that say a little bit different. Why does it say praise the land of Israel that it's flowing milk and honey? What's a big deal about milk? So there's one opinion that says milk is referring to white wine. Huh? Another opinion says that chalav, it's like chalav chitim. It's referring to the wheat, big fields of wheat. It's all white. Different opinions what it means. Also dvash. Some people say that dvash means any sweet goodness, good things that are sweet. Some people say no, it means the sweetness of dates. The juice that comes from dates is also called dvash. Some people say that no, what it means is that there's so much the foliage there that the bees have no problem to make honey. There's honey everywhere because there's so much foliage. There's another place where it says that it's dvash. This is bad because the land of Israel, when it was destroyed, so there's all this wild growth that's growing all over the place. There's no animals over there. And so there's no animals to eat the grain. So therefore, there's a lot of honey. It's a bad, okay. But here it says land. In any ways, whatever it is, it's a big, big praise of the land of Israel. Let's see. Eretz Chalav Davash, it says about Moshe, anything that is good, I should depart B'Shem Hashem that you said, in the name of God, lo nafal mikulum davar arza. Anytime you say something good, there's always going to be a good result from it. That's what it says. We came to the land where you sent us. Because if they would have changed something, maybe they'll say, listen, maybe they went to the wrong land. They went into Israel. Maybe they went to Lebanon or some other place. So therefore, so they had to describe it exactly. But in addition to this, that in addition to the fact that it's flowing milk and honey, but בדבר אחד לא מצאו בדבריך כי אמרו שסימן זה בדוק ומנוסה שבמקום שהעם אז הם יושבים בערי הפרוסס. But they said, we're going to tell you all these good things, but the only problem is that the people over there are so powerful and they're so strong and so entrenched in the land. But Suras Gedolos ki Lashon Ephes means ach varach, right? Only. In other words, all these good things are nothing compared to the Lubavitcher Rebbe has a sikh about this, by the way, and he explains something very interesting. If you look closely at what the Meraglim said, at what they said, you'll see that really they just came back and they reported exactly what they saw. And it's true, they threw in their own opinion right over there. They said, listen, we don't think we can take the land over, but everyone could say, okay, that's your opinion. You have your opinion, but we're with God. What was so bad about what they did? Look, let's take a look and see what they said. Look, it says, Ephes, but the people are very strong to live in the land, and the cities are very fortified, and they're very big, and also the people, the Anak we saw over there, right? And there was Amalek is down in the south, and there's the Chiti and the Avusi, and the Amori were saved over there. We saw over there in the mountains, and the Canaanese were on the sea. In other words, they got our enemies are all over the place. Good, okay, but that's it. They didn't say anything bad. All of a sudden stands up Kalev and it says, Vayas Kalev et Am. Kalev made everybody quiet. Al Moshe, and he said, we're going to go up and we're going to take it over. Kalev said this. Now, if you look and see what they said, they didn't say anything wrong yet. They just said there's very powerful people, there's beautiful fruits, and that's it. And all of a sudden, Kalev stands up and he tells everybody to be quiet. And then all of a sudden, the spies said, the people who were with him, they said, we can't go up in the land. They're too strong for us. Then they started shooting in their own opinions. Why did Kalev tell everybody to be quiet? Here, the spies had not yet given their opinion. They didn't start discouraging the people. They started discouraging the people right after Kalev kept everybody quiet. Why did they even have to keep everybody quiet? What did the spies say to make everyone discouraged? All of a sudden, they had to keep the people quiet. Why were they making a noise? What did he have to keep them quiet for? They hadn't heard anything bad yet. So, right here, let's see. Only after he kept them quiet, then they said, the people there are too strong for us. And they put out a bad name for the land to the Jewish people. And they said, the land that we went to, it's an eretz that eats up its inhabitants. And all the people that we saw that were people that were huge. They were immense, right? We saw the Nephilim, the Anak, the huge giants that were there. Oh, now they said, okay, so what did Kalev, why did he keep everybody quiet over here? What was said wrong? Why did he see that the people were disturbed? And why were they disturbed? Right? That he had to keep them quiet over here. Should be the Kalev said he should have kept everybody quiet after everyone. The spies said that the land is big and we can't take it over. So the Lubavitcher Rebbe asked this question and he says like this, look, before Kalev kept everybody quiet. He said, listen, keep everybody quiet. And it's very interesting. We'll see what Rashi says. What did the spies say? They just came back and they reported, right? They reported. Well, not exactly. They did report exactly what they saw, but they reported it in a different order than what they were told. What did Moses tell the spies to do? Let's go back here. Look. First of all, he says, Moses sent them to spy out the land, right? And he said to these scouts, he said, see the land, what it is. Tell me about the people that are there. Are they strong? Are they weak? Are they few? Are they many? How is the land that it says? Is the land good? Is it bad? What about the cities? Have they got, and is it fat? So what do we see? Moses, first of all, said, come back and tell me about the people that are there. And afterwards, tell me about the land, how good it is. Right? First of all, I want you to come back and report to everyone about how strong and powerful and scary the people that are there. That's the first thing I want you to come back and tell. And after that, tell us about the fruits. What did the scouts do? First thing is they came back and they showed them the fruits. They said they came back and showed them these big, huge grapes. They came back and they said, they came back to Midbar and they showed them the fruits first. First, by Yerum et Priya Oretz. So what happened over here? And that made the people crazy. They showed them the fruits, and afterwards they said, but the people that we saw were very, very big, right? It's a land that's flowing milk and honey. And all of us, then they said, but the people that are there are very powerful. They're in big cities. Okay, so that's, they just reported what there was there, right? And in fact, that's exactly what Moses said them to do. Tell me about the people and tell me about the fruits. All they did was change the order, says the Rebbe. That's exactly the point. They were very clever people. What did they do? First of all, if they would have come back and reported on the people first, how big and strong they were, so the Jewish people would say, what do we care? God is with us. God is, he'll take care of it. He took care of all the Egyptians. He fed us in the desert for a long time now. God is the boss of the world. He'll take care of it. In other words, if they would have come back and just talked about the challenges that are there, how big the people are, how fearsome they are. So the Jews would have said, big giants, fearsome people. In relation to God, these people are nothing. God will take care of them. But they didn't do that. What did they do? First of all, they got the Jewish people to think about themselves. Ooh, look at these big fruits. Wow, the land is flowing with milk and honey. This is for us. They started, first of all, thinking about themselves, took their minds off of God. Right? It's worth your while to go into the land. Look how plentiful the place is, fruitful. But there's big giants there. The Jewish people thought, whoa, for a few fruits, we're going to fight these big giants. Not worth it. Just to get some milk and honey. Who needs it? To fight a big giant? Who needs it? If they would have thought about God in the beginning and thought about God, then these strong people are nothing. God can take care of them in a second. But as soon as he got the Jewish people thinking selfishly about themselves, then all of a sudden they made totally different calculations, right? If the reason going into the land of Israel is for our personal benefit, then no way, we're not going to go in just for a few fruits. Let live and let live. Let these people live in their own, right? We're supposed to conquer the land, but let God take care of it. Let's talk about that later. First of all, and that's what the spies knew. The spies knew, first of all, get the Jewish people to be selfish, think about themselves. Then you can manipulate them and scare them in any way you want. But if the Jews think about Hashem, nothing in the world will scare them. And that was exactly the point what they did. The spies, how they knew. And that's why Kalev, as soon as he saw that they changed the order, so Kalev said, Yas Kalev. Kalev kept them quiet, kept the people quiet. Okay, let's see a very interesting thing over here. Good, I think that's very beautiful. He says that there's the Amalek. Amalek is on the south, the Chiti and the Vusi, they're in the mountains, the Canaan, they're on the west side, and also by the Jordan River. right there by the sea, the big sea, and also by the Jordan. That's the east side already. Let's look at Rashi. Amalek is sitting. Amalek, says Rashi, Lefish and Nichvu ba'Amalek kavar. They already were burned by Amalek. Amalek already attacked them when they left Egypt once. When they first left Egypt, Amalek attacked them. So therefore, they mentioned the Meraglim, the spies mentioned it in order to make the people afraid. Ooh, Amalek, these Amalekites, they're really wicked people. And we have also the Kanani are on the Yam. The Yam is the Mediterranean Sea. That's on the west side of Israel, and also on the east side, and also on the Jordan. Yad al Yada Yaden. Yad, what did we kamashmo? Next to the Jordan River. We can't go over the Jordan. Where there's no way we're going to be able to get in. We're covered on all. They got the whole land covered on all of the sides. Lamed. Kalev kept everybody quiet. Says Rashi, Hishtiket kulam. Now this is a pretty difficult thing because you have to remember there's like 3 million people. Let's say the women weren't part of it and the children, but you have 600,000 men to keep everybody quiet. That's not so easy. He kept everybody quiet. El Moshe, Lishmo Amashi Daber Moshe. Why did he say Vayas Kalev Am El Moshe about Moshe? Everybody kept quiet in order to hear what he had to say about Moshe. Tzavach Bomar, he yelled out and he said, everyone was screaming out, hey, Moshe is trying to kill us. Moses is driving us berserk. He wants us to go in the land of Israel. We don't want to go in. Kalev stood up and he said, you think this is the only thing that Moses did to us? This to us. So everybody thought, wow, he's going to say some more bad things, right? Maybe Moses did some things in his house we don't even know about. Right? These are only the revealed things. Maybe he's got a laptop or something. Who knows what Moses says? Mitoch shaya believe him al Moshe, because everybody thought they wanted to hear bad things about Moshe because of the Meraglim, the spies. They all came back and they said, hey, this Moses wants to kill us. Shetaku kulam lishmoa ganusa. So therefore, shatku kulam, I'm sorry, that all of them were quiet and they wanted to hear what Kalev had to say. That's how he kept everybody quiet. He stood up, who knows, on a rock or something, and he said, everybody quiet. I want to tell you some real juicy news about Moses. Everybody's quiet. He said, oh yeah, what else did he do? He said, hello, Korah lana with the yam. He split the sea for us. Harid lana with the man. He brought down manna. He gives lana slavim. He brought these slav, these birds, fat birds. Allah na'aleh. That's what he says. Let's go up and go up. Allah na'aleh v'yirashna ota. Go up. Afilu b'shamayim. Even if Moses tells us to go up to heaven. If he says make sulamot, make ladders and go up to heaven, don't worry, we'll do it. Because Moses, everything he says is successful. That's what it means, vayahas, that he kept everyone quiet, like has kol basar, everyone keep quiet. Like also when you want people to be quiet, so you say, shh, shh, right? Shh, be quiet. It means the has, to be quiet. Here we have an Ohr HaChaim, an interesting one, Ohr HaChaim. Kalev kept everybody quiet. What does it mean? A normal human being cannot keep 600,000 people quiet. Therefore, Boma Mamaro, it says, Kihum mashtik el Moshe, velo legzerato, that he tried to keep everybody quiet by that they should listen to what he has to say about Moshe. V'yaduka Moshe Melech, because he knew now, but he has a different sort of explanation. Moses was a king. Like it says, Vayehi b'Yeshua Melech. Ulamito shatko lishmoa asher yamar. So therefore, emato, because everyone was afraid of Moses, he was a king. So everybody was quiet. You want to hear what the king says? Homer said, Na'aleh. What does it mean? Lefi divrei amaraglim nochalo. Even if what they say is right, these spies, nevertheless, aleh na'aleh, we will go up and go up. And as we're not trying to say what the spies are saying is not true. Even every word is true. Nevertheless, we can succeed. We'll overcome all obstacles. Lamed Aleph. The people that were with him said, we can't go to land, that they're too strong for us. They're too strong for us. Strong, mimenu, from us. Now, mimenu can also mean mimeno. Mimeno, kivyachol, they're too strong for God. They're too strong. Okay, now what does it mean they're too strong for God? How can it be? One of the reasons that they were going to go into the land of Israel was in order to plow and to plant and to work on the land and to dig. So all the people said, listen, now we're in the desert. We're surrounded by these clouds of glory, and there's the broken tablets are floating in front of us, and they're destroying all of our enemies. But when we go into the land of Israel, they're not going to be any more clouds anymore, and we're not going to get food from heaven. And we're not going to have this floating, broken tablets in front of us. What's going to be? Maybe, God is putting it into our hands. Maybe it's not going to work anymore. That's what they said. That here we're winning our battles, but when we go into the land of Israel, lo nochalol, we can't go up there because it's stronger than God. Lapi Maila. Ohr HaChaim said, 1 second, let's see, is this right? Yes. So Pirish Ashinoi Ladibre Kalev. And the Kalev, right, they said, the people said, we can't go up. Va'omu, they said, lo nuchal, we can't go up. Kalev is going to say, yes, we can. Don't worry about it. Here, we'll see. What is it? Vayas, I'm sorry, no. Vayas Kalev, here, I'm sorry. It's back here. Vayas Kalev, Kalev said about the people, he said either in the name of Moshe or they thought he was going to say something bad about Moshe, and he said, Alein Ale, we can go, we can take it over. We are able to, but it says, Ki yochol nochal, it doesn't say we. He is able. God is able to take over the land. And they said, no, the people that are there are stronger than God. If we have to do things normally, it's not going to work. Here he says, yeah. And then they added on to say more bad things about the land of Israel, saying, Hagam shahaya yochalim liyoresh, even though we could, and even if we do take it over, it's not worthwhile. Mu'usahi, the land of Israel is terrible. Why? Ochelet yet yoshveh, it devours its inhabitants. Everywhere we went over there, everyone was dying. The Yotzi Dibasa Oretz, the Torah that they surveyed to the Jewish people and said, the land that we went through is a land which eats up its inhabitants. And all the people we saw were huge people over there. What does it mean it eats up its inhabitants? So Rashi says, every place that they went, they found that the inhabitants were busy in funerals. They were burying people. That's pretty weird. Why were they burying people? It's because it was a miracle from God. God did it for the good of the spies, kadei letardam, so that the people would be all busy in their mourning, right, in their sadness for mourning for the dead people, and they wouldn't pay any attention to these 12 scouts. They were midot, anshe midot. They said the people that were huge, gedolim begavurim. You had to give them, you have to give them. In other words, there are people. If you meet a person that's really big, right, something really big, you say, wow, he must have been 20 feet tall. Like Goliath, it says Gol Sheish Amot V'Zerat. It says that how big was Goliath? That Goliath was 6 amos high. He was 9 feet tall. Whatever, 6 amos. An am is like a foot and a half. So he was 9 feet tall. That's pretty big. You don't get people like that. Became Ish Midot. Ish Midat. This means that he was big, huge. Just 1 second here. Yeah, okay. So the rest, let's do it a little bit quickly over here. The spies said, we saw the Nephilim. The Nephilim, these were these people that were there before the flood, remember? Bnei Anak, the people that would be the huge from the Nephilim. And we felt in our own eyes that we were like little grasshoppers or ants. And so we were in their eyes. How do you know that? How they were in their eyes? So it says, Nephilim, these are the Anakim, huge sort of weird giants that were over there that fell from the heaven in the day of the Dor Enosh, before the flood, right? But it says that the one that was left over was Og Melech HaBashan, so he must have had children from them, who knows? Or maybe new ones fell down. And we were in our own eyes like little bugs, and so we were in their eyes. Shamano, because we heard them saying one to the other, Namalim yesh b'karamim kanashim. Look, there's little ants in the shape of people. Right? In other words, that's how big these people were. Anak, she'ma'anakim, they were from the huge ones, me'anakim chama b'makomo, that they darkened the sun with their height. In other words, we were so small that the people there, they eclipsed the sun. They blocked out the sun. They were so tremendously huge. There's also another explanation here that however a person looks at himself, so he thinks that everybody is looking at him. So if a person doesn't value himself, so nobody else is going to value. So it says we were like little grasshoppers in our own eyes. We're like bugs in our own eyes, and therefore that's the way everybody they treated us also. Batisa Kaleida, and all of the people lifted up their voice and they cried. They cried that night. Kaleida, it says Sanhedrus, all the people of Sanhedrus. And it says that night, you're crying this night. Which night was it, by the way? It was Tisha B'Av. He said, you're crying for nothing. You're going to cry in the future generations. This is Tisha B'Av. But Yelenu al Moshe and Aaron, all the Jewish people, and they said, all the people, Lu matnu be'eretz Mitzrayim o b'midbar hazeh lu matnu. Now here we have this, I just have to comment on this. This is probably the most stupid statement in the whole Torah. Lu matlu halavai, that we died. What are they trying to say? Just listen to this. What does it say? They say a person is his own worst enemy. A person wishes things on himself that even his enemies don't wish on him. A person can do things to himself that his worst enemies can't do. And here we have the example. What did the Jewish people, what were they worried about? They're going to go into the land of Israel and they're going to die, right? They're going to die. There's big giants over there and they're going to swallow us up and we're all going to die. The fact of the matter is when they did go into the land of Israel, they didn't die. That's the fact, right? That's the fact. So what do they say? They said, it should have only been that we died in Israel, in Egypt, or in the desert before today. Woe is it that we even lived up to now. In other words, they're wishing on themselves that they should have died earlier. They're wishing on themselves something worse than their worst enemies, in fact, didn't do to them and couldn't do to them. So we see from here that a person can be his worst enemy. Sometimes a person's own thoughts can be more destructive to a person than anybody in reality could possibly be. And they said, it should only be that we died earlier. They wished on themselves that they should be dead. And in fact, even in their worst scenario, coming into the land of Israel, no one would have killed all of them. Why did God take us into this land just to be killed? Our women and our children will be all like, spoils of war. It would have been better if we would have, wouldn't it be better that we went back to Egypt? Vayomer, they said, Ishal Achiv, they said one to another, Nitna Rosh, let us choose a head and go back to Egypt. And if you remember what the Ohr HaChaim said, I think it was, wasn't it? Ohr HaChaim? Nitna means to take away. Rosh. Nitna Rosh. Let us take away the Rosh. The Rosh is the land of Israel. Let's take away the head. The Jewish people, they're the head of the whole world, and Israel is the head of the whole world. Let's get rid of this whole idea that we're the head. Get rid of the idea of Israel, and let's go back to Egypt. Moshe fell on their faces in front of everybody, in front of all the Jewish people. Yoshua ben Nun and Kalev ben Yefuna, from those people, they tore their garments. And they said to the Jewish people, the eretz that we want to go to visit it, Tova, or it's Ma'od Ma'od. The land is very, very good. Very good means it's like heaven. Heaven. Very, very good means it's much better than heaven. It says, that's what we say in davening, B'kol me'odecha. B'kol me'odecha. It says that you should serve God with all of your energy, with all of your being, because the serving God in this world is better than to go to heaven. Well, that's the whole purpose of the land of Israel. The land of Israel is much, much better than Ma'od is going to heaven. Me'od Ma'od means much, much, much better than even going to heaven. That's what it says in the Sforno. It says the land where we're going to, they testify that it's very, very good without anything bad in it. It's like it says that the land is flowing milk and honey, and that the people that are on it, it says they won't eat us up. It says they are our bread. They won't even say anything against us. Exactly the opposite what everyone said. That's what it says. If God wants, it says it's a land of milk and honey. It says lachmenuhem, lachmenuhem. Don't worry about it. They are our bread. They won't devour us. We'll devour them. Right? If you just remove their righteous people from them, there were a few righteous people, remove them, then we'll be able to defeat them, as we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. Hope to see everybody tomorrow at 8:15 in the morning. Have a good day with Mashiach now.